Yo, what is up guys? It's me, Lee, back bringing some more daily NBA recaps and updates. We got 8 games of NBA action to talk about, plus a couple of updates regarding a couple of NBA teams to get into. Before we get into that, I need you guys to go ahead and go plus ultra on that like button one time for the one time. Also, leave a comment down below if you get that reference. That's enough talking though, now let's get into the video. Let's go! So the Orlando Magic just managed to defeat the Boston Celtics yet again, behind Terrence Ross in his 25 points as well as Aaron Gordon in his 28 points and 12 rebounds. And this win over the Celtics was the Magic's second straight win over the Boston Celtics this season, and not only that, but the 4th win for the Orlando Magic in the last 5 times that they have played against the Boston Celtics. The final score of this one reading 105 to 103, and even though the Boston Celtics lost, they had a shot at the end of the game to at least try and tie the game up or even win it with a 3, except Gordon Hayward on the inbound decided to give the ball to Jason Tatum to take the last shot instead of Kyrie Irving, and it would appear that that did not sit too well with Kyrie Irving, as immediately after Jason Tatum went on to miss the final shot to try and send the game into overtime, Kyrie Irving gave Gordon Hayward the J.R. Smith treatment. And what I mean by that is Kyrie Irving did the same thing to Gordon Hayward that LeBron James did to J.R. Smith after game 1 of the NBA Finals when J.R. Smith thought the Cleveland Cavaliers had the lead. So clearly, Kyrie Irving wasn't too happy about this, and we got even more reports about Kyrie Irving after the game. For example, one saying that Kyrie Irving after the game was sitting at his locker just staring blankly, not showering, not trying to talk to the media, not talking to anyone else, just contemplating how on earth the Boston Celtics managed to lose again. And when Kyrie Irving finally did speak to the media after this loss, he had quite a bit to say. For example, he says that it's not easy to be great, and that he doesn't think that some of the younger players on the team know what it means to truly be a great team. They don't know what it's like to experience a championship level game, so they can't possibly fathom how hard it is to be truly great.
You gotta appreciate being out there and just competing, you know, and it doesn't matter who you're going against, and it matters the type of preparation you have, what you're going out and trying to accomplish. What's the big picture? What are we doing here? These are a lot of things that I don't think that some of my teammates have faced, of just every single day. It's not easy to be great. So the things that you're doing, that you've done your whole entire career, of being able to, you know, kind of coast by in certain situations, and you've gotten away with your youth and stuff like that, being on a championship ball club, you can't get away with that.
And the reason he's saying this is most likely because more than halfway through the season, the Boston Celtics still aren't the team that everyone thought they would be coming into the season. They're not that championship level team. They're not quite up there with the Milwaukee Bucks or the Toronto Raptors as the favorites to come out of the Eastern Conference. It just hasn't been the year for the Boston Celtics that we thought it would be. So clearly this has Kyrie Irving frustrated, but I want to know what you guys think. Do you think Kyrie Irving has the right to be upset about this? Do you think that he was right about the Boston Celtics not knowing what it takes to be a great team? Let me know what you think down in the comment section below, and also let me know whether or not you think the Boston Celtics will eventually become that team at some point this season. Doc Rivers just called out the Eastern Conference big time. Okay, so first off, the Detroit Pistons played against the Los Angeles Clippers last night, and what was Blake Griffin's first time playing against the Los Angeles Clippers in LA since LA traded him to Detroit last year at the trade deadline. And Griffin in this game was an absolute monster. You could tell that he really wanted to have a great game against his former team. 44 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists for Griffin, while Drummond also had 20 points and 21 rebounds, and Detroit got the 109 to 104 win. And this is where the shade comes in, by the way. This is where the shots get fired, as after this game, Doc Rivers called out the entire Eastern Conference, saying the West is tough every night, and when you lose to an East Coast team, it hurts even more. Dang! Like I said, the man just called out the entire Eastern Conference, because basically what he said was West Coast teams have no business losing to East Coast teams. The West is so good that when you lose to a team in the East, that is the most humiliating defeat that you could suffer. And even though this is massive shots fired, I can't really rebuttal it, because if you look at the standings in the Eastern Conference compared to the standings in the Western Conference, and the record the A seed has in the East compared to the record the A seed has in the West, there's no competition. The Utah Jazz seem like they're finally figuring things out. I'm not gonna lie, the Utah Jazz to start off this season were one of the more disappointing teams in the NBA. A lot of people, including myself, projected them to be one of the top teams in the Western Conference, top 2, 3, or even 4 seed, seeing as to how the Houston Rockets had also gotten off to a slow start. There were questions around the San Antonio Spurs. The Western Conference, outside of the Golden State Warriors, at the start of the season was perceived to be wide open for anyone else. And a lot of us thought that one of the teams that would step into the spotlight would be the Utah Jazz. However, throughout the first half of the season, that wasn't really the case. But as of late, things have been changing, and that's mainly because Donovan Mitchell has been changing. He was in a sophomore slump to start the season, but he has now broken out of that and looks like the player that we all thought we were going to see this year. Last night, he led the Jazz to a win over the Chicago Bulls. Yes, just the Bulls, but a win is a win. 110-102 the final score. Donovan Mitchell finishing this game with 34 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists, while Rudy Gobert also played well with 15 points, 16 rebounds, and 8 assists. And after this game, Donovan Mitchell pretty much said that the Jazz have finally flipped the switch, saying that they were playing with their back against the walls for so long, and now that has drawn the best out of them, and they're beginning to find their rhythm. And that's definitely the case. And if you are the Los Angeles Lakers, this is why you should be very worried, because with this win, the Jazz are now 23-21 on the year, playing some very, very good basketball. Meanwhile, the Los Angeles Lakers are only a half game ahead of Donovan Mitchell and the Utah Jazz, with LeBron James being out for the foreseeable future as well. So we just had a showdown last night between two of the best bigs in the NBA, Anthony Davis going at Karl-Anthony Towns. And in the past, this matchup was mainly dominated by Anthony Davis. He would basically make Karl-Anthony Towns look like Karl-Anthony frowns every single game. That's just how much better Anthony Davis was than Karl-Anthony Towns. But this time, it was a lot different, as it was actually Karl-Anthony Towns who ended up outplaying Anthony Davis. Towns with 27 points, 27 rebounds, and 4 blocks, going head to head with AD. Granted, AD did have a pretty solid game himself with 30 points and 14 rebounds. But the thing that mattered the most was Cat actually got the Wolves the win over the Pelicans, 110-106. And I have to say that ever since Jimmy Butler did get traded away from the Minnesota Timberwolves, Karl-Anthony Towns has been stepping up big time. He has become the leader on that team, and a lot of the players look up to him. And he's even started to play better. In the month of January so far, the man is shooting the ball extremely well and averaging 27 points and 15 rebounds per game, while also becoming a much better defender. This is the exact type of growth that we wanted to see from Karl-Anthony Towns last year, but at least he's making it now. It's better late than never, and I just hope the rest of the Minnesota Timberwolves figure things out before yet another promising big man winds up leaving Minnesota in a few years to win a championship. The Sacramento Kings managed to survive 31 points for Kemba Walker to get the pretty grindy 104-97 win. De'Aaron Fox and Buddy Hield with 21 points each, while Bogdanović also had 22 points off the bench. And this was a good win for the Sacramento Kings because it showed that they're able to stay in close games and win out a grindy game. That's one of the hardest things for a young up-and-coming team to be able to do, because typically in a close game down the stretch, they may lose their composure. The team with the more experience, the more veteran players will come away with the win, but that wasn't the case this time. So that's just a sign right there that this Kings team, it's not really just a fluke. They're starting to figure things out, and it won't be too long until they are one of those teams that will be in the playoffs for the very foreseeable future, as long as they keep De'Aaron Fox, Buddy Hield, Bogdanović, and all the other young players, which I'm sure shouldn't be too much of a problem. And one of the biggest, if not the biggest, upset of the night was definitely the Phoenix Suns, who are still without Devin Booker, by the way, managing to defeat the #1 seed in the Western Conference, Denver Nuggets, 102-93. Kelly Oubre Jr., whom the Suns acquired in that trade with the Washington Wizards, had himself a night with 26 points and 11 rebounds off the bench, and this guy has been playing a lot better ever since he arrived in Phoenix. Since around the time that he's arrived in Phoenix, Kelly Oubre Jr. is now averaging 15 points per game on 50% shooting from the field, as well as 38% shooting from 3. And this part might not seem as impressive, but the Suns have actually managed to win 5 games since adding Kelly Oubre Jr. to their roster. 5 games might not sound like a lot, but that's a heck of a lot of games for the Phoenix Suns to be winning. So he's definitely had a positive impact, and I look forward to seeing how he continues to progress in Phoenix. It's rematch time. The OKC Thunder looking to get revenge on the San Antonio Spurs. Of course, the last time these two teams played, we had that double overtime classic in which LaMarcus Aldridge scored his career high of 56 points. This game was different. No overtime and not as much of a classic. It was just the Thunder beating the Spurs 122 to 112. Dennis Schroeder, who hasn't been as good as a lot of people thought he would be coming off the Thunder's bench so far this season, did have himself a great game yesterday. Broke out of the slump that he's been in pretty much all season long, scoring 19 points. And Greg Popovich saying after the game that he was just slicing up and dicing up the San Antonio Spurs all night long. But it wasn't only him, as Russell Westbrook also did his thing with 24 points, 10 rebounds, and 7 assists. And the last game of the day is the Miami Heat getting the win over the Memphis Grizzlies 112 to 108. Justice Winslow, who is still the starting point guard for the Miami Heat, has been playing as well over the past few games as when the Heat originally handed him that starting role, but last night he was back on track with 26 points and 7 rebounds. And that is going to do it for everything that we gotta talk about today. Like I said at the beginning, make sure that you guys go ahead and go plus ultra on that like button one time for the one time, as well as make sure that you are subscribed to the channel with post notifications turned on so you can stay up to date with everything that goes on in the NBA on a daily basis. And now it is time for the player of the day, where you guys had the opportunity to vote for who you think was the best player in the league last night by clicking the little eye icon in the top right hand corner of the video. Just remember though, that only players whose team won are eligible to win player of the day. And yesterday, that player was none other than James Harden in his historic 43 points, 12 rebounds, and 10 assists triple-double in just under 30 minutes. Thank you once again for watching though. You guys already know that you are the real MVPs, but all of that being said, until tomorrow, I'll catch you guys later. I'm out of here. Peace!